Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check them out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
A clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
Alright, welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. Now today's tale, we're going to follow up with part 2 of Supernatural Black Dogs. Now we're going to talk about a few more species today and the paranormal curiosities that surround them. So the first we'll have wandering black dogs. Now these good boys are encountered mostly in rural areas around nighttime. So their presence is usually shown when a person is alone, very rarely showing up when people are in pairs, but there are rare occurrences of this. At most times it chooses to ignore or be ignored. So if a person tries to speak to it, that dog can cast a supernatural power over them that either blinds them, dumbs them, or it could give the person, it could make them go mad with insanity. And it does this all while focusing on your eyes with his fiery red eyes. Now the gaze is more of like a spell-like or trance-like state, and the creature also has abilities to act as like a death omen, so like if you're near death, it'll appear. Now the next we have the Black Dog of Newgate. So this one revolves around a prison in London, obviously called Newgate. So a very horrible place to end up. This was way back in the day. Now, inmates lived in terrible conditions. They dealt with overcrowding, lack of provisions, and a prisoner that was near death from starvation, he was thrown into the population of other prisoners. Now, due to the man's weak state and his slim physique, he was mocked by the other inmates, and eventually he was overpowered by a gang of prisoners, and they ripped him apart, and they ate his flesh like wild dogs. After the deed was done, the prisoners now sat around with full bellies. Now as the night rolled in, a fog kind of loomed in, and the sounds of howling and growling filled the air. Now the prisoners were too horrified to move. A monstrous black hound slowly emerged from the shadows. It was the man who the prisoners killed. He ended up taking canine form, and he killed the prisoners that murdered and ate him. Now the ghostly dog appears at times as a shapeless black form. It kind of glides about the top of the walls of the prison, so it also gives off a foul stench, and its footsteps echo with the screams of prisoners, and that echoes in the background, as the prison was actually known for a long hallway that led to their executions. This was called Dead Man's Walk. Now next up, we have the Puka. Now, this guy is an animal spirit that some believe got its name from the word Poc, P-O-C, which translates to he-goat in Irish tongue. Now, the Puka is a changeling, which means it can take form of a human or an animal, and it can turn into any farmland animal. Example, like a horse, a bull, donkey, dog, or a cat. And even if it felt like really messing with your head, it would take form of a man or a woman. Now, when he was in dog form, it's totally jet black, and he has fiery gold or fiery red eyes. Now, some often associate it with the devil himself. And the mountains and hills are where the creature keeps its domain, though sometimes it's thought to be helpful it's also thought to be menacing. It's a fairy-like creature, and it's a creature of oncoming doom. Now, it uses its cunning and wily ways. It also uses like lies, deception. It's pretty much known by travelers as a trickster, and he's also gifted with human speech, so he could take form of anything, riddle you with shit, or, just mess with you, right? So that's the form that guy took on. Even, like, iconical mythical creatures, like, some of those are actually, like, incarnated from the puka. Like, the boogeyman, for one. The Easter Bunny, which is actually a pagan origin, of a fairy-like creature that gives chocolate eggs and other sweets to children. And its roots are actually similar to the spirit theme of the puka. Now, the puka often appears in, like, horse form. It's seen galloping across the countryside, usually knocking over fence lines and seen destroying crops, and all this while possessing the horse form. Now, he roams around in search for a rider, usually a drunk person, and he usually takes him on a wild ride. He'll shake him off in the morning, and since the passenger's usually, like, heavily inebriated or whatever, right, he doesn't really remember the ride. Or it could be that lack of memory from a spell brought on by the puka. So this gives the man or woman no recollection of the event. So the only man to ever ride a puka successfully was the High King of Ireland. So that was Brian Borma. So he was born 941 and he died 1014. Now he somehow managed to control the beast using a special bridle that contained 3 of the puka's hairs from its tail. Now, this allowed the man to ride the puka until it was exhausted, and he surrendered to the man. Now, the king was then forced to kind of make it agree to his terms. So, 2 promises. The first one, it would no longer torment Christian people and their property. And second, it was never allowed to attack any Irishmen, except those of either drunk or evil intent. And although he agreed to this, the promises didn't last long, as the puka kind of sort of forgot all the rules and everything, so he continued on smashing shit around town and just tormenting everybody. So, sightings of the puka, by one traveler, this would have been around the river Liffey, and would be between the countries of Kildare and Wicklow. Now, it tells tale of a Kildare man back in November of 1813. He set out on travels near the Tipper Crossroads. Now, a black horse appeared that didn't seem to belong to any of the riders. A fox was seen roaming around the countryside, and he ran across the difficult terrain. Now, he was being hunted by the hunter's pack of dogs, so he was traveling across the rocks. Upon seeing the hunting dogs near the ledge, and there was harsh waters below, he tried to call the dogs back, but had no success. Now, he gave the hunters a little bit of notice there, and to no avail. He looked over, and he seen the black horse. His eyes turned fiery red, and it's almost as if he possessed the minds of the other dogs. He kind of brought them closer to the ledge of the cliffs. The fox jumped, and he tried to get to the other side. He couldn't quite make it, and he fell into the waters below. Now, the pack of dogs soon went over as well. The puka, running behind them, he chased them in, kinda, so as they fell in, he successfully jumped over to the other side. Now, looking down, the fox and the hounds were seen trying to desperately swim to safety, and there was nothing but swirling waters. All the hunters could do was actually just watch the dogs, and some smashed against rocks. They yelped in pain from exhaustion, and others began to cry because most of the pack of dogs had now sunk underwater. Shortly after this incident, the hunters looked over, and they seen the horse kind of neighing at them, as if it was laughing at the hunters from the other side of the cliffs. Now, in human form, the puka sometimes predicts unfortunate events, and it gets a feeling of joy when watching these events unfold on mankind. Example, a businessman and investor from Cork City. So Cork City is the second largest city in the Republic of Ireland. He noticed a well-dressed man outside of his home. He then struck up a conversation as if the two had known each other for many years. Now, the guy made mention of the family's facts, like kind of stuff that spanned over 3 generations, mostly financial aspects. And he was trying to give the man some pointers on money and whatnot. So the man was well off anyway, so he didn't really give a shit. So he didn't take the sophisticated man's advice on financial gain. Now, the next few years, the country actually fell financially and was in financial ruin. Now, the man's business went under. He lost his family home and 2 other houses that he had investments in. And these are just stories of the puka that have, been told. I mean, I'm sure there's many other stories that'll come to light, or maybe they already happened and some are just too embarrassed to come forth with them. And the most terrifying of all dogs are the jet black diabolical hellhounds. Now, they have fiery blazed eyes, some with tongues of fire in their mouths. Usually the beasts accompany the devil in his search for human souls. Now, hellhounds date back as far as ancient Greece, along with the legends of Cerberus, the 3-headed guardian of the underworld. Even like everyday dogs, like our lovable Dobermans, they're nicknamed devil dogs, as they're initially portrayed as servants of the Antichrist. Now, the devil sometimes takes wild dog form just to blend in with other dogs around the world. Because hellhounds often give off like a foul odor when near, and it keeps everything else away. They're also given the ability to talk. So this is why, like, he changes from hellhound into, like, a wolf or dog or whatever else, like, around the world, right? Now, legend has it that anyone who stares into a hellhound's eyes 3 times or more will surely die. Now, hellhounds can often be seen guarding the entrances to the world of the dead, like graveyards, other burial grounds. And hearing a hellhound howl often can be described as an omen of death. Now, hellhounds are often sent from hell to collect contracts of those who have sold their souls, and they can only be seen by the person that's being hunted by it. They're completely invisible otherwise. So when your contract's up, the hellhounds will come for you. Now, Greek mythology state that the hellhounds actually belong to Hades, the Greek god of death and the underworld. And even Cerberus, he was a huge dog with 3 heads, but he's still black, and he has razor-sharp teeth, super strength, and he also guards the gates of hell. And hellhounds are often nicknamed the barrier of death. Now, they leave behind a burning spot wherever they go, and they were actually created by ancient demons, because they're pretty much known as heralds of death. Now, some sightings of the hellhounds, they make mention of a horn on their heads, and giving off like a glowing red appearance. They also possess fire-like abilities, often such as lightning, and wherever they go, they end up leaving like scorch marks on the ground as they walk, and some of these guys are actually known to breathe fire as well. So hellhounds are very loyal to their demon or the entity that they serve, and it's impossible for any other being to use them to fulfill their deeds. Now, this conflicts with the wishes of their masters if they do so. So, the beasts actually hunt relentlessly and also unforgivingly, and the only way for their mission to end is if the hellhound brings back their prey's soul, or if their prey meets their demise. Now, they seem to have no weaknesses, but some say that they are stopped in their tracks from iron, silver, and salt. Now, in some cases, religion is also known to keep them at bay. There's a tale of a man that started praying when he was approached by a hellhound, and it eventually changed its direction. Now, even centuries ago in old Europe, like black dogs, they're known to cure illnesses within children. The children would eat like a sandwich that had a hair of the dog in it, and that would actually cure whatever illness that they had. And the next tale we have, it's mostly heard by like long haul truckers or passed around from them. Usually it comes about if they've been driving too long or if they begin to fall asleep at the wheel. Now the trucker will see a spirit kind of run up towards the truck just before the crash. Now the black dog spirit causes the driver to steer off into the road or into traffic, and this results in the death of the driver or say another hitchhiker that was with the driver, something along those lines, right? Now, the vanishing hitchhiker, he'll come on, like, it'll be like, he'll return in ghost form after the death, and he'll go back to the scene of the accident. So in some tales, the truck driver will actually pick up the hitchhiker, not knowing he's a ghost, and he'll take them to their destination. Now, the hitchhiker then leaves a personal item behind, like a sweater or book bag, and the truck driver will return the object to the place where he dropped him off at. And he'll only be told that the person no longer lives there, and he died many years ago, and in like some sort of truck accident or something, on that very road that the truck driver had picked them up on. Even some aspects of seeing like a spiritual black dog can symbolize signs of protection. Some black dogs are associated with guardianship, and it would also be an omen of representation of change, within the unknown. Some cases, a black dog can represent a warning or omen that brings danger, misfortune, or even death. And they can also show up as symbols of spirits that are linked to our ancestral roots, and past lives. And one species, the freybug, that's a monstrous black dog that comes from medieval English folklore, roughly the size of a calf, and he wanders about the countryside, terrifying travelers. Now, the freybug is defined as an object of fear, a bogey, or a specter, and it's often very similar to the Baragest. Now, in South Jersey, Pine Barrens, there's a local legend told by residents that a ghostly black dog that roams the beaches and pine forest areas, he comes out every once in a while. He's considered harmless to some, but, folklore has it that pirates attacked a ship within the area, and they killed everyone on board. This included the pair of a young cabin boy and his black dog. So the spirit is that of the black dog, and he roams the beaches and countryside looking for its owner. And there's also tales from New England, like from southern Massachusetts, and this would be in the area known as the Bridgewater Triangle, to some, I would assume. Now, in the 1970s, a large black dog attacked a bunch of horses, and police were on the lookout for the dog, but they came up empty-handed. Now, this was only for the first half of the night, and a police officer was roaming around, and he seen a black dog walking on the set of railroad tracks, and he opened fire upon the animal. The bullets had no effect on the animal, and it just stood there, looked at him, and then continued to walk off, and it was never seen again. And even in like North American folklore, it states that if you see a black dog once, it brings you joy. Twice is for sorrow, and the third time would be for death. Other species of black dogs, like the Yeth Hound, they're found in Devon folklore. Now, Devon is a ceremonial county in southwest England. In a book written by Philip Pullman called Brewer's Dictionary of Phrase and Fable. The Yeth Hound is a headless dog said to be the spirit of an unbaptized child. And the Yeth Hound travels through the woods making yelping, or like whelping noises, I guess. Now, they're also related to the Wish or the Wished Hounds, also of Yeth Hound's bloodline. These are located in Wistman's Woods, which is a high-altitude oak woods on Dartmoor in Devon, England. So, they hang around the road known as Abbott's Way and the Valley of Doerstone. They travel with a huntsman that's actually presumed to be the devil. Now, it's said that any dog that hears the Yeth Hound's cries will die. And a legend states that the ghost of one Sir Francis Drake, he could be seen traveling the road between Tavistock and Plymouth at night. Now, he will be accompanied by demons, and headless horses will be pulling his carriage. Along with them will be a pack of headless Yeth dogs, or Yeth hounds. Now, there's even another one here, the Tchiko, or Beatty. It's actually known as the Dog of the Dead. Now, he haunts several places, and they're known to drag chains behind them as they move, and they're particularly active during the Christmas holidays. Now, some have seen the dog, and they try to chase it with sticks, but the sticks end up just going right through the apparition. And some people believe that the Tchiko is a spirit of former bailiff Gaultier de la Salle. He was an evil and wicked man who was hung in the year 1320. So they think that that guy has taken form of a dog and he's just, haunting things around him. So, the Wished Hounds usually ride with the devil. He's also known as the Huntsman, and this is mostly at night. So they're mainly in search of lone travelers and children, and more so unbaptized children. Now, some think that the hounds themselves are souls of children or child victims of the crew. Now, a tale of a farmer riding home from a fair event, he encountered a pack of these dogs and a dark huntsman. Now, the dark huntsman and the dogs bolted right past him, as if, they were playing some sort of game. Now, as they passed, the farmer heard, "Take that," in a sinister, booming voice. Now, he tossed the man a large bundle. Now, upon picking up the gift, or whatever it was, with excitement, the farmer had hurried home. He was eager to open up his newfound bounty. So upon unwrapping it, he discovered that it was the body of his own infant son. And these are the kind of things and tricks, well, not so much tricks, but that these dogs and the other evil company would play upon travelers who crossed paths with them. And there's also next we have the Hound of St. Austell. Now, there was a crowd of a few boys and some men that were traveling around midnight on a bright moonlit night. So they were in a field across the road from St. Austell in England. Now, they heard a horse drawing near because they had the clatter of hoofs. And it was coming closer and closer. And as it got closer, they all noticed that it wasn't a horse, but a big, huge dog creature with red eyes. Now, the road where they stood was split into two ways. One way had a gate across it, and the other way was just the road going down. So the dog had taken the way with the gate, and he walked right through the gate with no hesitation. And, there was, no ease at all, right? And the man and company took off down the other road, and they quickly made their way home. Now, upon recollection of this, some years later, the man remembers that the beast was like more like almost the size of a bear. But it wasn't a bear because of the red eyes and the way that it had passed through the gate, because the bars were too close together for an animal of that size to squeeze through. Okay, so next up we have the Black Dog of Tring. Now talks about a chimney sweep named Thomas Colley. He was executed by hanging in 1751 for the drowning murder of one Ruth Osborne. And he actually accused her of being a witch, so he ended up drowning her and they hung him. Now, Colley's spirit now haunts the site in form of a black dog. 2 men had encountered the dog around this site at one point, and a burst of flame came out of nowhere. And the dog was as big as a car. He had burning eyes and sharp teeth. The dog glared at the 2 men, and then vanished below, as if he had kind of sunk into the earth. Now, the next one here we have is, I hope I say this right, the Capelthwaite. So, adjacent parts of Yorkshire, around Capelthwaite, there was a large dog roaming around near Milnthorpe. Now, he was a helpful dog at one point. He performed helpful duties like retrieving sheep and working on the farm, whatever, I guess, as a dog. So, but anybody outside of the farm, like, he was friendly with everybody inside the farm, but on the outside, he was very spiteful and mischievous. And eventually he was banned from the farm by the owner. And although he was more of a domesticated dog, he kind of looked more like a hobgoblin type creature. And my last little bit, we're going to talk about Gabrielle hounds. Now, these are dogs with human heads that fly through the air. They're more so heard than seen. They're also known as Gabrielle ratchets. Ratchet meaning a dog that hunts by scent. Again, these are part of the Yeth hound bloodline. And they're also said to be souls of unborn children. Now, tradition goes that the dog's leader, Gabrielle, is condemned to follow the hounds at night for punishment of sin for hunting on a Sunday. And their yelping cry is similar to the birds of folklore known as the 7 whistlers. Other black dogs, the hairy jack, he's located in Lincolnshire. He haunts fields and other villages around the towns. So they're mostly regarded as having like a kind and gentle nature, and they're looked upon as a spiritual protector. The hairy jack is known to haunt lonely plantations or waste places or like dumping grounds, shit like that. You know, like places people go to like to throw like old washers and shit like that. So they're known to attack people that pass around the area that they guard. And another species is the Mucklebuck Tyke. Now, this is a black dog that resides at a witch's Sabbath. So it's a Scottish black dog. They often serve as guardians for like treasure. Now, there's a treasure near the village of Mirthley. Now, there's a huge standing stone, and anybody that's brave enough to remove the stone, they'll find a chest that's guarded by a black dog. So that's the tale of that. And even on mainland Europe, like the Beast of Flanders, as it's called, that would be a large dog with a long chain roaming the field at night. In Lower Brittany, stories of a ghost ship crewed by souls of the damned. They had hellhounds sent to the boat to keep that evil crew at bay, because they don't want them inflicting tortures on anybody, right? So that's all I got, folks. So I really hope you enjoyed our little supernatural tale, and I hope you guys have a happy Halloween, and you get to spend some time with your family. Thanks for tuning back into Twisted Tales. Take care, folks.
Twisted Tales.